Good evening and welcome to the March 30th, 2021 meeting of the San Luis Coastal Unified School District Board of Trustees. At this time, we'd like to ask those in attendance to please keep your videos off and audios muted unless you're presenting information or speaking in public comment. We're offering translation services for our Spanish-speaking attendees. To access translation, please click on the globe at the bottom of your screen and then the language. At this time, we'd like to ask if anyone who needs translation to please click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a esta junta del Consejo de Educación de nuestro distrito escolar. Esta junta va a estar teniendo interpretación simultánea al español. Levanten por favor la mano si es que necesitan servicios de interpretación y si es que hay participantes de habla hispana, vamos a tener entonces un pequeño icono en forma de globo terráqueo que va a aparecer en su barra inferior en unos minutitos en cuanto yo termine de hablar. Gracias, bienvenidos.
Okay, thank you very much. The board met in closed session, and we had 3 items in closed session. The first was a conference with our legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of section 54956.9. One potential case based on potential liability faced by any public agency conducting at-large elections under the California Voting Rights Act. We also discussed personnel items, review and possible action on employment, dismissal, or discipline of district employees. And finally, we had public employee performance evaluation discussion, the superintendent's annual evaluation. Do we have a consensus on the order of business? Okay, seeing that we have a consensus on the order of business, let's move to approval of our minutes for March 16th, 2021. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes for March 16th, 2021. I'll second.
Okay, hold on just a second. I want to write this down. We have a motion by Evelyn, second. He uses his glasses. Second by Ellen. Okay. Go around. So any further discussion on this item? Right? Evelyn? Ellen? Mark? Catherine? Eve?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Do we have any student representatives to the board this evening? We do. I'm seeing a shake of the head there. So who do we have? It looks like you're in your car again.
I'm here.
Hey there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Why don't we go? Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. All right. So last week on Slow High's campus, the ASB hosted a virtual fundraiser, and we actually raised $2,500 for an organization called Gravity Water, where what they do is they're making a water filtration system for an elementary school in Vietnam. So that was really awesome. We reached our goal in, a little under a week, which everyone was really happy about. And other than that, we have a Jersey Spirit Day coming up on campus on Thursday, and obviously spring break starting Thursday until the Monday after. And then sports are in full swing, practicing and playing matches and games and meets. But other than that, that's about it. So thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. And then we have somebody from Morro Bay High, Rosalie.
Yeah. Hi guys. So at Morro Bay, we decided that before spring break, we'd get everyone ready with the Spring Spirit Week. So yesterday was Spring Back to Bed, which is a pajama day, everyone's favorite, especially with classes like only in the morning now. It's fantastic. And then today was Green Thumb Thursday. We wanted to make sure the virtual kids were included. So we just had set it up to where I send in a favorite photo of your plant. I made sure to show off my favorite succulents. And then tomorrow is going to be like an egg scavenger hunt. So to make it COVID safe, a couple kids went around today after 6th period, just taped eggs under desks. So some have like gift cards in them, some have candy, some have chips, like cool little trinkets. And we thought that'd be a fun thing since we can't really do quad activities right now. We don't have a quad and it's not really COVID safe. And so then tomorrow is tomorrow's the egg hunt. And then Thursday is going to be color wars. And we basically have it out by grade level. So like freshmen are going to be colors, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So that's super awesome. Stoked about that. And then something that's super exciting that we're going to get to do here in a couple weeks is our Pirate of the Year, which is going to be a recognition of 5-to-1 seniors. So we sent out our ballot to from the list of probably 25 nominees. And then we're going to pick a top 5. And from there, students are going to vote again to have their one recognized Pirate of the Year. And the top 5 will be recognized at the Friday, April 16th football game is going to be the date for that. So barring everything stays safe with the football team and all that, hopefully we're a go on that celebration, which will be super awesome for seniors to get that. And then apart from that, the senior class is planning a series of fundraisers. We're going to do bell ringing outside of Albertsons and such to raise money for senior events. We're hoping to have an in-person prom in some aspect, maybe just seniors. So we've really been working with our senior advisor on that to get seniors some sort of thing. And we're super stoked that we get an in-person graduation at the end of the year. So, and then also we have tons of sports going on right now. Our teams are doing great. We're having lots of wins. And that's kind of what's cooking at Morro Bay. Any questions?
Great. Yeah. Questions for anybody for either? Well, Rosie, one thing that's going to be cool, I've been over to the high school. I think it was there last week. You're going to have a really nice quad.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I won't get to see it, but next year they're going to have a really nice quad for hanging out.
Yeah, I think they're making some pretty good progress on it. So you're a senior, you probably won't see it, but it's been a long time coming there.
Oh yeah, we definitely get to see the progress every day, and it's fun to listen to the music and stuff that they play. It adds to the vibe of the campus.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, you are welcome to stick around. We're always happy to hear from you and hear what any join in our discussions on any of the items that we are talking about tonight. Of course, we also understand that you have homework and you've got a lot of other things and you don't want to stick around. We understand that too. So any questions? Oh, I think Catherine Dr. Eisendrath Rogers has a question for you.
I just, I've been seeing a little bit about what's going on with the football practice and the football scrimmages that are being set up. Is that something that you would be able to tell us a little bit more about, how that's working for the students and the teams?
For the football practices? I don't know a ton about football. I can get more information for week after next, but I know that they had one game last Friday. Everyone got tested afterwards and everyone was clear. They'd tell us if someone wasn't. So it seems like things are safe there, and the contact, injury wise, seems to be fine. No major injuries or anything. I don't foresee us. I don't think we're ever gonna be able to have spectators or anything like that apart from immediate family members. Is that kind of answer your question? That's pretty much all I know.
Excellent. Well, you read that very well. Thank you.
And just, of course, congratulations to your principal designee, Mr. Scott Spaldi, who will be starting there next August. So that's pretty exciting. Again, you won't get to have him as principal, but we're very excited to have him join your team over there, become a Pirate.
Yeah, going into good hands as we all leave.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great night, you guys.
All right. Let's move on to item number 6.02, San Luis Obispo High School program highlights. And
yes, good evening.
Looks like Mr. Mayfield.
Good evening, Mr. Unger and board. We have San Luis Obispo High School and Principal Leslie O'Connor and his team are here to give us highlights from San Luis Obispo High.
Thank you. Mandy from Muting Me or Jeremy. I just wanted to say thank you to the board for inviting us here this evening. It's been an action-packed year, 12 months, almost to the day. I will tell you that the team that will talk with you this evening, Jessica Miller, assistant principal, Nathan Minard, assistant principal, and Julie Mamo, assistant principal, could not speak more highly of the work that they're doing. Jessica and Nathan, if you're not aware of it, each welcomed a baby boy and girl respectively into their families back in September. And Julie Mamo at the other end of the spectrum was taking her son to college. And through all of that, they have been working tirelessly to connect and bring programs to our campus. And I'm going to turn it over to Jessica first to speak about the amazing highlights that we have done on our campus to this point.
All right, thanks, Leslie. Good evening, everyone. So we're going to kind of go through this whirlwind here of students back on campus. We're going to talk a little bit about our academic supports and then extracurricular activities as well. All right, so we had orientation day back before school started on the 12th of March, and we welcomed about 100 students or a few hundred students onto campus, excuse me. And they got to tour campus for the first time. Being that it was March, we had 9th graders that had never stepped foot on our campus before. So it was kind of an interesting little orientation for all of them. On the 15th, we welcomed back to over 900 students in person, and we have more being added to our wait list every single day. So that's really exciting to see. I think our students feel safe on campus, our teachers are feeling safe on campus, and more kids really want to be there. Our library is open, normal hours. Students are coming before and after school to get studying in. We have ASB activities running, daily music, all of those fun things to really build that community on campus. Students, as I said before, are doing an awesome job of following our COVID protocols on campus, making sure they're social distancing, keeping their masks on. I would say in the 2.5 weeks we've been back open, I personally have only handed out one mask the entire time to one student who's forgotten. And I think the other administrators can say, have very similar numbers there, 1 or 2, and that's all. So our kids are doing a great job. Our counselors are providing social emotional supports in person and via Zoom. So they're making sure to really hit the whole spectrum of our student body there. As you can see, some of our students here, we definitely still have construction going on, but our students are really making the best of it. They're excited to see all of the changes coming onto campus, and we're excited to see them as they start to complete. First morning back on campus, kids were excited to be there. Getting an elbow bump, safety procedures there with COVID from our Tiger. And jumping in here to academic support. So we had a large group of students who was struggling that first semester in virtual learning and who had struggled the previous trimester as well. And so we wanted to really build in that support for them once they returned. We have about 200 students right now who are receiving after-school supports from after-school pods. And so these students are actually staying for an entire full day. So they're on campus with us from 8:15 until about 2:30 every single day. And they're getting one-on-one support from teachers. They're getting small group support from their pod leaders, working on those kind of executive functioning skills, writing things down in planners, planning for upcoming projects and tests and how to study. They have that daily structured environment, which has proved really supportive for them. On top of that, we also have our Recovery Academy running, which is kind of embedded within these pods after school. And it's our 9th and 10th graders who had failed one of their core classes, either English, math, or science first semester. And they're remediating that course in their after school pod time. So they're getting direct instruction from their core teacher every afternoon. The majority of these students are not only passing that class they previously failed, but they're passing all of their other classes right now as well too. So being back on campus and getting this extra support has been incredibly valuable for them.
So in addition to those awesome things that are happening in person, one thing we saw right away that we wanted to make sure we continued was some sort of support for our students who are remaining on distance learning. We saw SGI being such a positive thing for our students throughout distance learning this year. And so we actually have multiple educators that are working in the mornings to make one-on-one connections for both our special education and specific general education students to do one-on-one connections, help with planning and organizing, catching up on work, and being successful in classes. So we're really excited to be able to continue to provide a lot of support to our distance learning students. through that opportunity for having staff support in the mornings. Jessica, can you go to the next one?
Yeah, sorry about that. My computer is frozen over here. Give me 1 second. There we go.
And then another really big thing, and we were joking with staff actually, you can see this picture is of one of our counselors meeting with one of the incoming freshmen next year, so a current 8th grader at Laguna. And believe it or not, in the same week that we were transitioning to in-person school with all of our students, our counselors were also meeting with our current 9th through 11th graders planning for next year. So we were joking with our staff often that we were looking at this current year planning, getting ready to come back in person, and planning for next year at the same time. Our counseling team has done an incredible job working with students, developing 4-year plans. And this is for all of our students that are currently at SLO High, 9th through 11th, and then also the incoming 8th graders. We are in the process of finishing that and will be finished by spring break, meeting one-on-one with every 8th grader so that they have a 4-year plan for all of the courses that they hope and plan to take in their time at San Luis Obispo High School. And it's been amazing to watch. In fact, speaking of Scott Scaldi, I talked with him on the phone this morning and he was just singing the praises of how amazing it's been and how excited the students are heading into this time. So it's just been a really awesome opportunity for our students to get that connection with their counselor coming into high school.
Good evening. Also, to add to all the wonderful things that are happening at SLO High School, on February 19th, Holly Warwick informed us that band, choir, and the theater could play and sing again, but outside and wearing masks. You know, I was so thrilled because I could see how our musicians, our thespians, were becoming very sullen, not being able to express themselves as they once did. So we contacted Sharon Jeske, our band director, Julia Wallace, our choir director, and Noelle Even, our theater teacher, and they were elated about this good news. So since school has opened with students on campus, if you visit SLO High School right now, you may be serenaded by our choir from J2's outside balcony, or you may see theater students rehearsing lines, or see and hear our marching band practicing on Holt Field. And speaking of our marching band, do you want to go to the next slide? They performed at our first football game last week, and they played the national anthem. They performed during halftime, and they did an awesome, awesome job. That was like Disneyland for them when they left. They were just so happy and jazzed. They will also be performing at our next 2 football games as well. And you know, just being able to play and sing brings tremendous joy and solace to our students. They are so, so grateful. You know, also to note, our musical theater and our theater students will be in the near future showcasing their talents, and the upcoming events include presentations of Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare, led by Noelle Eben, and also a cabaret led by Noelle Eben, and Seussical Jr. led by Julia Wallace through our musical theater students. So, and all presentations will be recorded and available to view. So if you have any further questions about our BAPA program, please don't hesitate to contact me through my Gmail.
And tying a ribbon on this, we have so many extracurricular activities on campus right now. We have over 20 sports taking place. I'm standing here in my office and I'm looking out at our football team practicing and our track team practicing, our water polo and our swim programs. We're just coming and going to the swimming pool. Our volleyball and girls soccer programs are practicing. Our boys soccer team just finished practice. We also hosted our first football game on Friday night. We have over 700 student athletes competing on our campus, practicing on our campus. I can't speak highly of the work of Marcy Badal and our athletic trainer, Brian Tu, and all of our coaches, not only in following the protocols, but making sure that the students and the student athletes have an opportunity to practice and also perform. Dr. Eisendrath Rogers, you asked about football. We hosted our first football game on Friday night. We had our social distancing protocols in place. Each player was assigned 4 participants or family members to be able to come and watch. We did the same with our cheerleading team. We also had our band parents there, and Julie Mamo did a fantastic job orchestrating and organizing our band program with Sharon Jeske to make sure our band parents were able to attend the game. And and it was this somewhat sense of normalcy. The Friday nights under lights with our band, with our cheerleading squad, with our football team. We played Paso. We were up 22-7 at halftime. Sadly, we faltered in the second half and fell 29-22, but we had a rip-roaring time, and it just felt good. Monopoly and Pictionary kind of are done for the Friday nights, and everybody in attendance was really happy to come. And so we're excited to have not only our students back on campus during the day, we're excited to see our students in the evening and enjoy the beautiful weather and the amazing campus and the facilities that we now have. That's pretty much our presentation with what's going on at San Luis Obispo High School over the last couple of weeks and months. Thank you.
Great. So board members, any questions or comments for Mr. O'Connor or his staff?
I just have to add one.
Dr. Rogers.
I'm a huge fan of football, as you can tell, and so I've not only just been able to enjoy it from a block away where I live, but I've been able to come through and watch the practices of the band and of all the young people back and on the tennis courts and running around the track, and it's just like almost life is back to normal. It's a wonderful feeling.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much, Mr. O'Connor, and we're so excited about being able to be back in school. We know that you guys are really completely stoked about it, and we can just hear it from the excitement that everybody's expressing. So congratulations on a great reopening, and we got a few more weeks, and it's going to be graduation, and you guys have done a great job. So
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 7.01, correspondence. At the time of the board meeting, we did not receive any official correspondence. Let's go to public comment, and I'm going to read a statement about public comment. At this point in the agenda, the board welcomes comments on matters of district interest. The board will listen but cannot engage in discussion or take action on items not listed on the agenda. Generally, this section of the agenda is for individuals or a representative of a group to address the board on issues not listed on the agenda. Speakers who wish to discuss items on the agenda are requested to wait until that item comes before the board. However, comments may be given on any agenda item at any time at this time, if it's not possible for a speaker to stay until the agenda item is heard by the board. If you submit written comments on a topic, you will not be allowed to also speak on that topic. Comments or correspondence submitted anonymously will not be accepted. You can submit comments or correspondence via our public comment request form prior to the meeting or while the meeting is in session. And that would be on our website, I believe. Is that correct? Yes, that would be where it was. If you wish to speak at the meeting, click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and select raise your hand. When your name is called, you may restart your video if you wish and unmute your audio. If you need assistance with your video, please let us know and we'll attempt to fix it. If you have a problem with your audio, please click on the thumbs down icon and we'll attempt to assist you. All public comments will be listed to 3 minutes, a limit of 450 words in written comment. Any portion of your comment extending past 450 word limit may not be read aloud due to time restrictions. All written comments that are not read into the record will be made part of the meeting minutes, provided that such comments are received prior to the end of the meeting. Please be aware that written public comments, including your name, may become public information. Reminder, you may not cede your time to someone else to help them extend your time. And let's see. So we did not have any written public comment at this point, and I'm looking to see if we have anybody who would like to address the board. And I'm not seeing anyone, so I will close public comment and we'll move on to item number 8.01, business and budget update. Mr. Pinkerton.
Yeah, so just to kind of go off of San Luis Obispo High School and some of the athletic testing that happened, as the board may know, we dropped to a 7.0 level, which mandated that we had to go ahead and test football, water polo, soccer, some other outside sports, along with our indoor activities. So the reason why I bring this up is our public health department has really stepped up. So in working with them, as well as Resolute and Associates, Holly Work, and really kudos to our two athletic directors, Marcy Vidal, John Andre. And these athletic directors are having to do all of the sports in one, 3-month period, basically, where normally they're used to having everything over the course of the year. So, just a tremendous amount of planning and logistics go into it. And really, the only way that we could get this done is through the testing assistance that we received through public health. So they're literally coming onto our school sites, both at Morro Bay and San Luis Obispo High School, conducting the athletic testing for us, making it quick, easy for kids and families to get done. And right now there's not a lot of testing going on in terms of public health. I mean, there's a lot, but not like what they've seen in the past, right, over the past 9 months. So with that, it's just opened up some opportunities for them to actually be able to help us in this way. So results are coming back very fast, 24 hours, and just, again, really helpful for us to ensure that our athletes are safe, our programs are safe, right, and those teams that we're playing are safe. So it's been a really nice, kind of marriage between public health and our school sites to get this accomplished. So I just, again, kudos to them for assisting us in getting that done. I met with Rob Loon today and Resolute and Associates, along with a group called Category 5 Professional Consultants, and they were the proposal that came through for our hazard mitigation fund. So I'll be sharing some information in regards to that. We're going to have some public process that's going to go, but again, this was a federal grant that we received so that we would be in line if there ever was any type of large emergency with our school district. And we needed federal assistance. So we're going to start that process with this group and look forward to it. And the two other key areas that came out of really the change in spacing requirements from 6 feet to 3 feet that we heard about last week. And so quickly, we got that information in. We have adjusted some of our busing and transportation seats on the buses due to that. So we've been able to add some more kids to our transportation list. I'll actually be updating the board at our next board meeting on kind of where we're at with that. But for the board to know, we've really focused on those geographic locations that are really tough spots, such as Los Osos to Morro Bay High School, Morro Bay to Los Osos Middle School, Pacheco, Teach to the city. I believe we started a second bus for Laguna. So some of those key areas where we know that there's a lot of needy families, needy students, right, in order for them to be able to attend school, need transportation. So we've been working directly with the principals. Annie Sharp, our transportation director, to continue to add students as we can with those routes. And then lastly, we've got some good news from our childcare providers. So again, we didn't have any wait lists in Morro Bay. We didn't have any wait lists with our YMCA programs, Los Ranchos and Hawthorne, at Baywood or Monarch Grove. But we did have a little bit of a wait list in a couple of the city programs. And so they were able to also use their restrictions a little bit with the number of students they're able to have. Because they're a licensed group, they have to be careful of those licensing rules. So they were able to add some students to the classes that they had. They called everyone on the wait list. And I think we're really down to about 4 students on a wait list throughout the entire district right now. And they're hopeful to get those families in by the end of spring break. So, hopefully it's, and again, I can't say enough about what it has taken for the city, YMCA, City of Morro Bay, City of Morro Bay, to make this happen, to ensure that, this really half a day schedule can work for families. And again, I think the district subsidy is really helping to ensure that, it's a lot more available and the opportunities there for people. So those are my key things for the business budget update.
Great. Any questions from board members for Mr. Pinkerton? Okay, let's move on to Ms. McGrath. Ms. McGrath, 8.02 Ed Services and COVID-19 update.
Great, happy to give an update. So one of the good things is kind of looking for a way to make some lemonade from maybe these lemons that we've been dealing with, is we've been looking at silver linings and brainstorming kind of what are the positive, maybe unintended consequences that came from this situation, and how can we make sure we're holding on to some of the great parts that we've learned through this process. So we did some brainstorming with parent leaders, did some brainstorming with administrators, and we're going to look to continue that brainstorming process and then start to put actions to it. So looking on the positive side, what have we learned and what can we hold on to? SBAC testing is kind of interesting. The state is potentially looking for a federal waiver to give school districts the option of whether to give the state test or an equivalent local test that could give similar information. We're waiting to see if the state does receive that, and then we're kind of in discussions to see what's the best step for our school district. So more to come on that topic. As one of the students, I think Rosalie mentioned, we did get some new guidance about group gatherings, and specifically got information about what would be allowable for graduation. So fortunately, as you can imagine, it would be based on the county's tier that you're in, but that there would be in-person opportunities allowed. So I know a lot of families and students will be really excited about that. Of course, it will be limited occupancy. We will look at fixed seating, so marked off where you need to sit in a spot where you have 6 feet of distance between households. So I can sit there with the limited number of members from my own home, but need 6 feet of distance between the next household. You'll pre-register for those spots, and people will have to only come if they're pre-registered. Of course, doing a health screening, making sure no one's attending that has symptoms, and then additional disinfection, hand sanitizer, et cetera. But exciting to think that graduation would have that possibility of being in person with these extra protocols. The great thing is that what we're finding is that with strong mitigation strategies in place, we really have limited spread in a school environment. So just as the science was showing through CDC, we're seeing the same thing. The interesting thing is when we do have cases pop up, we have our contact tracing that takes place. So through that contact tracing process, it allows us to kind of check our procedures and check our strategies, because then you figure out who has been within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, because then they have to be notified that they were close contact. So in some ways, it's a good way for us to remain diligent and to check on our own procedures, because the mitigation strategies do work. Mandy, if you don't mind, if I can share my screen, I want to just give you a quick update of what you can find on the district website, but it is the dashboard that I would walk you through. Let's see. Mandy, do you mind actually just going to the district website? Would that work? I am not able to share screen. So on the district website, you'll remember that we added the COVID section. And if you look on the top left section, you'll see the COVID dashboard. So on there we go. Thanks, Andy. So clicking on that COVID-19 update and then the dashboard there, the button, you'll see that we're still in the red tier as a county, and you can see the testing information as well as on-site positivity. And then if you go to the second button, like maybe one page. Thank you. You'll see the updated information that I've talked to you about before. So you will see that based on this week, that there was a slight increase in student cases. A lot of these, again, as we have found a pattern, were not spread on a school site, but it would be a person that was positive from their home. And then we had to kind of, deal with the situation there on the school site. We did have 11 student positives, which was definitely an uptick of what we had seen previously. But like I said, not from the school environment. It was more close contacts from other issues. There were no staff positives. And fortunately, our adjusted case rate in the county is also remaining at that 6.9 rate. So that 7 number is kind of a magic number that then creates a lot more parameters. So hopefully our county and community can continue to work together to keep it under that 7 mark. The last piece, thanks for displaying that, Mandy, is just kind of the summative information you'll find there at the bottom was the cumulative totals for students and staff. So just a reminder, it's a great way when you're curious to pop on there and to give you up-to-date information. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. McGrath? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item 8.03, Measure D update. Mr. Pinkerton?
Yeah, so just two really quick things for the board. We had our CBOC meeting on Monday, so Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. We reviewed the annual performance audit as well as financial audits with the group, and we had our two project managers, Steve Stewart and Rick Stimson, review the projects at Morro Bay and San Luis Obispo High with the group. So it was a good meeting. Nice to have everyone, in attendance for our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, and they really appreciated the update and the work that's being done. And then I also wanted to give a quick shout out to our BG&T staff. So Steve Stewart, Kelly Lee, Desiree Smith had a great bid for the San Luis Obispo track. So they, we did our public bidding process, went through the bids last Thursday. Mr. Holcomb was there, myself, Mr. Bonnet to oversee the process as well. And so fortunately we received 7 bids, which was nice. So that was a nice coverage in terms of it. And I feel like we got a really good, winning bid that we have tonight on the board agenda for the board to approve, which will be later on in the agenda.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Pinkerton? Right, I'm not seeing anyone. So let's move on to item 9.01. This is a presentation on our summer program update. Mr. Mayfield, I believe you're up to bat.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Mandy, could I share my screen?
You should have rights now.
Okay. There we go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. As you know, we've been talking about before COVID times about improving our summer experience, no longer referred to as summer school program. And we were developing a long-term vision for how we could make summer experience more engaging, have students not only do literacy and math type activities, but also get into innovative activities, STEAM activities, and other things like that. Well, of course, COVID changed the conversation, but we by no means have abandoned the idea of improving upon our summer programs. And so tonight, we're here to give you an update on our planning, not only for this coming summer, which we're putting together rapidly, but also Debbie Blow, you'll meet tonight, is a consultant we've hired to help with our long-term visioning and also with our professional development activities for this summer. So as usual, we'll do a tag team presentation with you tonight because there's a lot of hands in on this project. Laura Storm will bring us up to speed on elementary programs. Dawn Addis on middle school and high school offerings. Diane Frost will share the extended school year. And then, as I mentioned, you'll meet Debbie Blow, and she'll talk about the professional development and then primarily the long-term visioning of summer programs for our district. We're so excited. As Slow High, you could really hear in their voices how excited they were about having kids back on campus. And, we feel the same way. It's so exciting to be preparing for a summer program to really bring kids in and engage. As I mentioned, we're talking short-term right now to make this summer a reality, but also envisioning what things might look like long-term over the course of the next several years. This summer, I will tell you that we're inviting students to attend. Intervention is going to be very important. And so this coming summer, students will attend by invitation only, but our long-term vision is to have everyone have the opportunity to participate in summer programs. We're looking at academic growth in core subjects. The preliminary data that we have coming in shows us that, our students are behind where they normally would be at this point in time academically. And so we need to shore that up. Of course, we're concerned about all of our students, but our seniors and juniors with their credits for graduation are of paramount importance. And so we're looking at credit recovery opportunities to make sure that those students are able to graduate and move on. We also want to offer acceleration at the high school level. This has been an important feature and component of our summer program over many years, and students often take accelerated math courses during the summer or elective courses during the summer so that they can participate in band and other opportunities during the course of the school year. We all know, and we've talked about this before at a recent board meeting, but social emotional development, awareness of student social emotional well-being is also going to be critical. And we're incorporating that into this work as well. And then we want it to be fun, and we want students to engage in new subjects and activities over the summer. So we're working hard to provide as many opportunities as possible. So Mrs. Storm, you want to share a little bit about elementary?
I would be happy to talk about elementary. I am so excited about it that I want to go as a student to our elementary summer experience. So we are going to host this on 3 campuses. So at CL Smith, we will have students from Pacheco and Bishop's Peak joining Smith students. We will have students at Hawthorne joined with Los Ranchos and Sinsheimer students. And then out on the coast, we will have Baywood, Monarch Grove, and Del Mar together at Baywood. And it looks like we have good news around transportation. We've been holding our breath, but they're going to let us have 1 student per seat on the bus. So this will help a lot with summer. But a really great piece for parents and for students is we are going to go with an 8:30 to 2:30 day. So instead of the go home at lunch, we're going to stay in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, and we're extending it out to 6 weeks. In the past, it's been, I think, 4 or 5. So we will go until the end of July. The model looks like this. A student will go through 3 blocks each day. So they will have a teacher for their language arts block, where we're going to focus in on reading or writing. And then they'll have a teacher for their STEAM block, which is going to be heavy math focus. We're using some Bridges curriculum, but then building on that with STEAM things. Or in the morning, it could go the other way, right? They could start with STEAM and then go, after the break, go to ELA. And then they'll go to lunch. And then in the afternoon, we are going to do an enrichment wheel for an hour. So the summer experience teachers, this is like pick your passion. So we have people that are wanting to do yoga and the chemistry of cooking and arts and crafts. And so our students will get to have those experiences in the afternoon. Now, if you're a student that's in kindergarten at Baywood, or you're a Pacheco kinder, 1st or 2nd grader, your morning will be self-contained in dual immersion. And then you will join the enrichment wheel in the afternoon with everybody else. So they will have that opportunity as well. Erin Primer, of course, she is on it with food service. We have the morning snack and the lunch. And this year, we're so excited to have a summer curriculum. Lucy Calkins, our reading and writing curriculum that we use during the school year, they have produced specific curriculum for this summer. So we are going to be purchasing that and doing PD and planning with our summer teachers. We are currently developing the scope and sequence and curriculum for the STEAM block. The MTSS TOSAs have been working really hard on that. And then we're going to do some pre and post assessments as well. We need to get some data and make sure that the students grew while they were with us over the summer. Teachers will have some professional development and planning time paid in late May to get ready for the blocks that they're teaching and to see their materials and plan together. And then, of course, they're earning the per diem rate. You know, and I checked right before I hopped on this meeting, and we have had registration open for 2 days, and we have 148 students signed up. And we posted teaching positions on Friday afternoon, and we have 35 people interested in teaching. So my hope is that we can continue to recruit even more teachers and offer more classes in primary, in K1 and 2, to really give more opportunities for those students. We see that their literacy is sort of suffering because of COVID. We really want to shore that up. So I'm pulling out every recruitment stop I can think of to find more people so that we can offer more. sections for our students. So that's the elementary summer experience. Looks different this year, but it's exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Addis to talk about middle school and high school.
Thank you, Laura, and good to see everyone. And I just want to give a plug for in-person water polo as a parent. It's been wonderful to be able to be a spectator. And I can echo what Ryan said, that we got our COVID test back within 24 hours. So I just want to say thank you before I jump into my presentation. So for the middle school summer experience, we're looking at incoming middle schoolers. So 6th, 7th, and 8th at Los Osos, and 7th and 8th at Laguna, who are identified with learning recovery needs. And it's a model that we have used in the past to get students used to the middle school campuses and to provide them an engaging summer experience. But this summer, it will be even more focused on those learning recovery needs. It will be in person in pods at the Laguna and Los Osos middle school campuses. And we have changed the schedule slightly. We used to go from 8 to 1, and this summer we're trying to be more in tune with the needs of middle school sleep schedules and go from 9 to 2. And we have 2 sessions. So session 1, as you can see, is June 21st through July 8th. So that would give students and families a week between the end of school and the beginning of summer school. There's no school July 5th. And then session 2 would be July 12th, which is my birthday, through July 29th. And so students could take one session for 3 weeks, either session 1 or session 2, or they could do the full 6 weeks. And then we have 3 blocks each day, very similar to what Laura just described. We'll have English or ELA, which will include reading, writing, speaking, listening, and ELD for those that need it. We'll have math, and then we'll have a hands-on enrichment. And similar to what Laura described, we'll develop that based on teacher passion and what looks like it will be exciting for middle school students. In the past, as you know, we've had culinary, we've had physical fitness, we've had aeronautics, we've had a number of different kinds of hands-on enrichment programs for the middle schoolers. And then of course, we'll have food and transportation like we have in the past. And I am also recruiting for teachers who are getting paid per diem, and teachers can teach either one or both sessions. So if there's teachers out there watching, please email me or fill out the form that you received, and another one will be coming soon. But we've actually had really good response. I probably have 40 to 50 teachers that have responded across middle school and high school. So I am hearing that people are excited and they're invested and that they want to get back with kids on campus. And then you'll see that high school is called summer school and summer bridge. And the reason for that is that these are A through G credit bearing courses. So they are for incoming 9th through 12th graders. And there's really 3 purposes for summer school and summer bridge. For summer school, students could do credit recovery, meaning they need to replace an F grade to remain A through G eligible or to graduate from high school. They could do grade recovery, which is to replace a D grade for A through G eligibility, or they can accelerate. They want to move ahead in coursework. And for summer bridge, the coursework would be getting elective credits for coming to the high school campus, getting an introduction to high school. So that would be our 8th to 9th graders for summer bridge, students who are identified as having a need and would benefit from being on the high school campus over summer and earn a few credits while they're doing it. And then we have 4 settings. So one is our online using Apex, as we've done for a number of summers, and this will be fully online with proctored exams. And so students can do Apex for credit recovery, for grade recovery, or for acceleration. We will have in-person pods at both Morro Bay High and San Luis Obispo High by invitation, primarily focused on credit recovery. And then we just added, so you didn't see it on the slides before, but we just added the Pacific Beach program to graduating seniors who need a little extra time. We're able to have students graduate all the way through August this summer. So we really wanted to offer a program to those Pacific Beach students who need it. And I do want to call out that Pacific Beach students are also welcome to attend the online program using Apex, but there may be some of them better served through Pacific Beach specifically. We did change our schedule again for high school. It used to be 8 to 1. It's 9 to 2 now to be more in tune with high school sleep schedules. And then the sessions for high school are 3.5 weeks. So we go June 16th through July 8th. And we have changed our start date by 2 days so that the 14th and 15th of June can be used for teacher training as well as prep. And then the second session again is July 12th through August 3rd. And students can either take one session, either the first or the second, or they can take both sessions. And we have food and transportation, of course, for those in-person pods, just like we've done other summers, and teachers will have the per diem rate. So I'll just do another shout out for recruitment. You're welcome to contact me, and there's a form out there if you're watching, teachers, but we continue to look. We've had great feedback so far, but we don't want to miss anybody who might be interested. So thank you, Laura.
Okay, Diane Frost here from Student Support Services. We wanted to remind the board and the public that in addition to all of these wonderful opportunities you're hearing about at the elementary, the middle, and the high school, Student Support Services is still offering our extended school year. Now, it's true that many students with IEPs will participate in those programs that you just heard about. For those who need a little bit more support, we have two different offerings this summer. First of all, our traditional ESY or extended school year. It's for our students who show regression on goals and don't recoup that learning in a reasonable period of time, or those students with severe disabilities. They make up our traditional ESY. This summer, though, we're offering a second opportunity, and this is for identified students as well, but we will be doing small group skills-focused sessions for our students. These are often RSP students who may not have connected in DL or had learning loss that their IEP teams, their IEP managers are worried about. They would require specialized curriculum. They would require specialized trained personnel as well. It might be 2-hour sessions, 4 days a week. It might be a 3-week block. We really look at the needs of the group of kids who will be in these small group skills focused sessions. And I'm really happy to say that, like all of our teachers working with us this summer, also, ESY teachers will be earning per diem, and we are posting those positions right now.
Thank you, Diane. And then I would like to introduce you to Dr. Debbie Blow, who's been working with us to develop a long-term vision for some time now, and also helping us with professional development activities. So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you, Rick. That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm very happy to do this work, and I'm not sure why the video's not showing, but that's fine. I stole this Summer Learning 3.0 from California Summer Matters, but I thought it fit. I was asked to create a framework for the district to do something different with summer learning. And if traditional summer school with the camp aspect was summer 1.0, and then the intervention summer school where you did worksheets and skill-driven aspects was 2.0, this is going to be Summer Learning 3.0, something totally different and a great engaging activity for students. So the next slide. The first thing was the task. Dr. Prater asked me if I would be interested in creating something different for summer school and summer learning, something never been done before. And he asked that it have a lot of hands-on experience, that it also provide many partnerships with the plethora of community opportunities that are there, and would be something that students couldn't wait to attend. So the next slide. I've had the great fortune to work with a committee of 32 participants, a variety with parents, community members, teachers, administrators, and classified staff. And I've sent them some work. I've provided them with some homework. We started by looking at the work that was done in January of 2020 before COVID hit. It was a great place to start. We also looked at research and some models of summer school programs, both within California and throughout the state. I also pulled together some subcommittees from that group. So we took a particular look at elementary and what things could look like, what could middle school look like, and then how would we envision high school. This was an accordion process moving back and forth. And as you've already seen through this presentation, a lot has been done with this summer. Many things were put into it in place already. I'm really excited, and I want to commend Rick and Laura and Dawn with the work they've done to put this together. There's a few things that we would have liked to have accomplished this year, but with COVID, it wasn't possible. For example, some culminating field trips and culminating experiences. Our next step was to develop a draft vision, a vision of where we wanted to go. I asked the participants to write a blog post as though it was spring of 2026. And if they were a parent, they were posting to other parents. If they were a teacher, they were posting to other teachers. Why would they want to be part of this incredible San Luis Coastal Unified School District summer experience? And I got some wonderful, wonderful themes from that. And I've put those into this vision. I want to particularly draw your attention to, I wanted this to be something that students can't wait to be a part of each year, that it would inspire passion and a love of learning. It would build on the many community partnerships, and it would have creative problem solving to confront real life challenges. So the next piece is looking at some of those components of this vision, that it will be accessible to all students regardless of means, and it's a program of choice. It's a program where students will see themselves being successful and connected to school and focused on personal growth and well-being. A high quality program taught by motivated teachers, allowing students to be exposed to new programs and approaches. It would be flexible, allowing students choices in the programs and flexibility of time. For example, we might offer 3 sessions at the high school, maybe even an evening session for students that are working. The summer program will have integrated content standards in a way that students forget that it's school and they're highly engaged. There would be a balance between both academic, experiential, and physical activities. Experiences are going to be offered in a creative way and focus on both the arts and STEAM activities. It will build on the community support and the assets that we have. It will be a caring, safe place for students and will offer childcare facilities for those who need it. And most of all, we will see a return on the investment with academic, physical, mental, and social emotional support for students that will increase student performance and will cause them to feel confident and successful. There were 5 goals for the program. The first and most important will be academic achievement. We want to close the achievement gap and provide both accelerated and hands-on experiential opportunities and support all students. We will have opportunities for all. There will be equitable access with quality enrichment and career development opportunities in the summer months and an ability to collaborate with our many community partners. Engagement. We We will increase students' connection to school and interest in becoming lifelong engaged learners through extremely motivating programs that allow them to explore their community. And finally, our high-quality staff, students will be provided instruction from high-quality caring teachers that are highly motivated. And finally, we're going to ensure families have access to a quality summer program for their children that includes food, transportation, and childcare as needed. So the next steps with this are, as Rick mentioned, we're working on professional development for this summer because it is going to be a different experience for teachers. We're providing them curriculum. We want to also give them the support for any social emotional needs students might need. And then we're really going to start focusing on summer of 2022. We're going to start early, maybe as early as in the fall, once everyone's settled into school, recruiting teachers and identifying them early and starting that professional development, allowing them time to create fun units with the standards, taking a design thinking approach, and also wanting to start early advertising to parents and registration, maybe early in December or January to have things moving, and really want to make this a very unique and ongoing experience. This is a quote from Erin Primer in the blog post, but this is what we want. We want to spark your enthusiasm at our summer experience, where experiences and connections create lifelong learners. It's been so great to work with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the product both this summer and in the future. Are there any questions?
So, yeah, this is a discussion item, not an action item. However, I will go to the board. I will go to the public after I see if there are any board members who have questions, and then if they're following that, we can come back to the board. So, board member Mark, you have a question, Ms. Bruckman?
I want to get this close. So this sounds just great. I'm just wondering why we can't do this all year round.
Mr. Bruckman, I think what we'll find is the summer program, once we really get to where we're hoping to go, it will serve as an incubator of innovation for the whole year. So very excited. Other questions from board members right now?
Just one of many, but
Dr.
first I,
Eisendrath Rogers, yeah.
well, I just want to, oh, sorry, let me get closer. I just want to express my enthusiasm for this program. It is so exciting to see these opportunities of using the time that we used to think of as take the summer off. And now it's an opportunity to just grow and learn. And so thrilled with the work that you've done with this. Diane mentioned advertising to parents. And so that made me want to ask the question, how are we reaching out to parents so they know about this in advance?
Are you referring to the extended school year program in particular that Mrs. Frost oversees, or the whole program?
I'm thinking about the summer program and the extended learning program.
Yeah, so for the regular education program at elementary school, those are by invitation only. So teachers identify, and this week that we're in right now, conference week, is when a lot of those students are invited to attend summer school in parent-teacher conferences. The same would be said at the middle school for students who will be in person, and for the Bridge program. Those are identified students that we encourage to come and participate, who need help in being engaged in school and with their learning. And then for high school credit recovery, grade recovery, that is available, and original credit too, that's available to all students. And we do advertise that out. And of course, we already have a number of families inquiring about it. And then Diane with extended school year.
That's really done through IEP team meetings and with the IEP manager reaching out to the families about the possibility that their child qualifies for.
So are we offering any programs for students who just might be feeling like they want to, pick up the gear on their education because they've been away from it for a while? Are we doing any of that?
We are at the upper grade levels, yes, middle school and high school.
And Catherine, the reason we're not able to open it up to everyone is we're running out of time. And so the point that Dr. Blow mentioned, in the fall, we expect to do active recruitment and then really start advertising and reaching out to all kids so that the summer of 2022 will be comprehensive and inclusive to all, where it's more like really to all of our families, and the word will get out. And this summer is more, quite frankly, an emergency intervention, really going after a targeted population of students who we know, based on teacher observation, administrator observation, really need our intervention and help. So we're really going after those families and students now. And once we get all those kids in, then we'll, if we have more space, we'll then open it up to other kids.
Bravo.
Okay, Mrs. Frame.
Well, I just wanted to say how excited I am about the current model and then the model that we're looking at developing. It almost makes me want to go back into the classroom. Okay.
That makes.
We've got a spot for you, Mrs. Frame, no problem.
Well, I'm sure you do, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things I wanted to ask is, sometimes in the past we've had trouble with recruitment. So it sounds like recruitment for staff is going rather well. I'm assuming these are current teachers that are in the classroom. So what do we attribute that to? I know we're paying per diem. I mean, what do you attribute that to?
Well, I would say a couple of things. I would say number one, it is per diem rate of pay. It's a significant, amount of money, and so it respects and recognizes the value of high quality teaching and learning.
Right.
If we want our best and our brightest in our summer program, just like in our regular classrooms. And, I think this does that. And teachers also have flexibility, so they can teach for 1 3-week session and then take some time off, because boy, they all need a little bit of time off, especially this summer, to recharge batteries. And then I think the creative nature of the programs, and that teachers get to also, I can't remember exactly how Mrs. Storm stated it, but pick your passion. They get to do something that they love and that's fun and engaging for them. And that's at all levels, through middle school and high school as well. So, I think it's an exciting program. And I think, teachers are looking forward to the opportunity to be able to come back and be in person with students in the classroom.
I appreciate that, because I know in the past there's been difficulties. So building upon the success of, staff recruitment, I think is really, critical as we move forward for more comprehensive plans. I have a couple more questions, but I'm going to ask, should I wait for other board members?
Why don't you go ahead and ask your questions, and then I see Mrs. Dobler has had her hand up.
Okay. The other thing I had is, do we have any idea approximately for class sizes that we're looking at, for our elementary sites? And
Yeah, right now at elementary, we're trying to hold around 15 to 1. Some of that is COVID protocols as well. That has kind of made things a little more complex, but we're staying fairly small because of that, and it'll just be more attention for the students and a really great environment for them. So around 15 to 1 in elementary.
No, I think that's, great. The other thing I had a couple questions is about the dual immersion. So a couple of things about that would be, if for some reason a family cannot attend, will they still be able to participate? Let's say they made other plans, and even though their student is not doing as well, will they still be able to be part of the dual immersion in the following year? This is not like you have to go to this, or just find that out.
So that would be students who, for example, did distance learning during the year. Could they come and participate in the dual immersion? Sure, absolutely. This is open to any student who is already attending a dual immersion program in whatever capacity. And
So
it's interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead.
It's interesting. Laura said one of the teachers from Pacheco who indicated an interest said that her passion was to teach Spanish in the afternoon. And we thought, how great would that be to open that up to all students to be able to take Spanish as like an elective in the afternoon. So.
Okay, and a couple of other questions because it seems like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the demand for the dual immersion is, I'm assuming, the Spanish, ELG component, and the academics. Are we looking to add an aid person? I mean, and with that engagement, and I'm just wondering how the differentiation in that program, and will students be able to, if they're in the dual immersion, will they be able to have the option of all 3 blocks, or how does that work?
I think we're planning for them to have that option, but go ahead, Mrs. Storm.
A couple things. So the dual immersion block will be in the morning, and I'll stay with one teacher who will do the ELA and the SEAM as the dual immersion, unless we get more bilingual teachers. That's always the trick, right? That's the hardest one for us to staff. And so right now we have one class at Baywood for the kinders, and then one for K1-2 for Pacheco. Now, anyone on here that can teach dual immersion, I would take you. I would love to open more sections. But so they'll stay self-contained in the morning, but then after lunch, join in the enrichment wheel and do all of that. We're going to offer the dual immersion teachers access to the curriculum that the English only teachers are using as a reference. Not all of it comes in Spanish, but sometimes they like to look at it and kind of translate it or use it as kind of a guide. As far as aids, we actually have been kind of throwing around the idea of perhaps hiring a few aides, because we also need help with lunch supervision. We've never had to have lunch supervision at summer school before, but now we need lunch supervision for noon supervisors. So we are thinking maybe we can combine those positions, but right now we're just really focused at elementary on certificated staffing and getting as many teachers as we can. So I really want to open more sections in both the English side and the dual immersion side. We just don't want to commit to families that we're going to have something we can't staff. So that's why I'm trying to uncover every stone of every possible person that could teach that would be willing, because we do want to do more, and we do want to invite more students. So Mrs. Frame, it's definitely on the radar.
Well, and I appreciate that. I mean, the staffing really is really difficult with trying to have bilingual staff. So I think perhaps because of that difficulty, what extra support will those teachers who are doing that need above and beyond, because they will be taking a slightly different load. But I think families are very excited. We're looking at kind of really changing the trajectory of what we're looking at with summer school or summer experience. So I think this is a great move in the right direction. I think it's really the focus of right now of trying to recover some of those learning experiences for our students is really critical. The last thing, maybe you can, Mr. Mayfield, the cost of this particular program, is it being covered through some of our ESER funds?
ESSER funds, yeah, that will be general fund, and ESSER funds will contribute to the summer school program. We had budgeted, for a normal summer school year. And so we have those funds available, and then we do have ESSER funds available as well, because it will be to a large extent an intervention type program this particular summer.
Yeah, just to kind of combine with Rick's answer. So we have the ESSER funds and the fund those are really enhanced learning funds that came from the state.
Oh, okay.
Pay, which is
fabulous.
For dean rates to staff this year. So hopefully that's something that we'll be able to, and my hope is that we can take those funds and spread them around as many, as much as possible to limit the amount of intervention.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Dobler-Drew.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to commend everybody on doing such a stellar job with covering all the needs and so inspirationally. And it's been said that the best gifts to give are the ones that you'd like to receive yourself. And so I just love the way Mrs. Storm said she'd love to attend as a student. And I'm sure you all kind of feel that way. We all have a little kid inside of us. So I'm inspired and I'm feeling giddy about it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sheffer.
Thank you. So I have a question about at the middle and at the high school level. I know that we have courses available through Apex, but will there be a plan in the future for summer school at those levels to have more face-to-face coursework? I know, technically we can say that summer school is available to all high school students, but it's in the Apex format. If there are students who wish to take classes in person, will we expand to have more of those available in the future?
Yes, and our typical format for summer school has always been to offer both. So we typically offer both the in-person, and those classes do fill up, full classes as if you were during the regular school year. And then we opened up the online option, and those have become more and more popular over time. It's really because of the COVID restrictions that we have focused on credit recovery with our learning pods and needing to kind of pare back a little bit on in-person. But the plan would be, to offer a full and robust program as we've done in the past, but under this new, guidance and framework that Debbie has developed.
Thank you. And then one other question. I know that we're talking about using some of the emergency funding for this summer, but we're also talking about continuing to grow and expand this and make it more robust and more available to more students. So I just want to make clear that, that money will need to come from somewhere as we grow this.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Sheffer. Mr. Mayfield, hold on one sec. This is something we all have discussed because Mr. Pinkerton gets very nervous when we start talking summer experience and programming, but for the right reasons. And it's just what you said. We have this one-time money that's supposed to be dedicated to supporting our kids, especially those who are experiencing learning loss.
Sure.
And we're doing that. Now, what we're really looking at is a long-term sustainable model. And the only way to do that, Mrs. Sheffer, is to, quite frankly, differentiate the cost structure. So families that qualify, or, as we look down the road, families that qualify as our Title I or our free and reduced, they would receive it at a scaled down or as no cost. I would collaborate with community organizations, our foundation being one of them, and business partnerships. And I would, once we have this defined, we would go on the road and seek contributions for scholarships. For those families that do have the means, we would create a catalog and we would present the costs for the different sessions. So over time, this model isn't my idea. This is something that we've taken from other districts around the country that have really developed this, and we found this in some of the best practice research. And so the districts that have created sustainability for the summer experience are those that have created a scaled cost structure. Many of our families spend thousands of dollars every summer for their kids to go to camp, and that's where we're seeing such inequitable outcomes. What we're trying to do is use our summer program to pull kids in that would normally go away to other camps and really create heterogeneous, really dynamic summer programs that are sustainable. In other words, we would charge families who do have the means a much less amount, a lower amount than they're accustomed to paying for outside experiences, but draw them in and try to compel them to join us and do it at an affordable rate, but really have an all-day program, 4 days a week, 6 weeks, to give our kids across the community a really special experience, regardless of their economic means. So there's my answer in a long-winded way.
Thank you.
But it sounds like we have some really thoughtful planning we're going to be doing and just some things we need to look at. Yes. Any other board members who have comments? I just want to close and echo the comments of my fellow board members. But I do think it was interesting that last week in Education Week, there was an interview with Dr. Miguel Cardona, who's the new Secretary of Education. And one of the things he talked about was summer experiences. And this strikes me as exactly what he was talking about. One of the quotes that stuck with me is he said, we should not have our summer programs. He called it skill and drill. I would call it drill and kill. That kids need these expanded experiences more than just sitting in front of a computer, more than just, trying to learn rote things, going to museums, essentially having summer day camp for our students to enrich them. And so I'm very excited about this. I'd like to go to the public now, but before I do, I'd like to read this comment. And I'm going to read this just once because it's kind of long. And then I'll remind people when we get to other comments. So we'll be opening public comment for this item. As a reminder, if you wish to speak at the meeting, click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and select raise your hand. When your name is called, you may restart your video if you wish and unmute your audio. If you need assistance with your video, please let us know and we'll attempt to fix it. If you have a problem with your audio, please click on the thumbs down icon and we will attempt to assist you. There were no written public comments. Is there anybody who would like to address the board on this item? Not seeing anyone. We'll move on, but before we do, I'd like to ask if there's anybody who is a Spanish-speaking attendee, if you would please raise your hand right now. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item number 9.02, Career Technical Education Update. This will be Mrs. McGrath and Mrs. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Unger. Yeah, I'm happy to introduce Mrs. Moore this evening, our career technical education teacher on special assignment, who has really done an outstanding job of lining up our career technical education offerings, pathways, really strengthening advisory boards as well as certifications. The state created 11 quality elements that can be analyzed in order to determine how strong your career technical education programs are. Liz has a real passion for making these programs really top quality and has dedicated herself to doing that. So happy to hand it over to Liz for her to take you through some of the major steps that we've taken and progress that has been made in career technical education.
Thank you, Kim. I am excited. Let's see, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. I am excited to talk about career and technical education. It's one of our goals to be career and college ready. So our first slide, we are crossing out the or. In the old days when you had to be either one. Our goal is to make you both. And that's what we're seeing that in hearing that businesses across the nation want to hire. What is CTE? So we're calling our career and college ready program CTE. The official name is Career Technical Education. It's a pathway program. And one of the main threads is partnering business and education. We teach students to be career and college ready through industry sector-based pathways. We emphasize job skills by visiting job sites, having guest speakers, contests, mentors, and more. We have industry-specific standards as well as anchor standards that you can see here. There's a list that includes communication, problem solving, responsibility, ethics, and demonstration and application. There's been such a change in the emphasis of career and college and or college ready over the last 20 years. Really want to emphasize, and we'd like to change the narrative. It's not either, it's both. That is what industry is saying they need. They need kids that know how to work. They also need skilled students or people, but the combination is really important and ideal. Kim spoke about the 11 elements of a high quality CTE program. I just want you to know there's leadership at all levels,
all the way from the board to the superintendent to Kim, all the way down to the teachers and the students who are serving on the leadership organizations. We look at our curriculum every 2 years with industry partners. The students are doing career exploration. We have strong partnerships. You know that your CTE teachers are very skilled. They're required to update their skills 4 times a year with professional development. And they also come from industry with 3 to 5 years of work experience. I think that I've given you, or you think you have some printouts of these charts. This is San Luis Obispo High chart. It shows all the pathways. Across the top are the industry sectors. There are 15 industry sectors, and those were decided by the Department of Education across the United States with industry leaders. They grouped these sectors, and within the sectors are pathways. And on these charts are the pathways that we have are listed kind of grayed out, like in agriculture and natural resources, that's an industry sector, and agriculture business is a pathway. This is Morro Bay's pathways and industry sectors. And Pacific Beach, they have an emphasis on career skill and training, but because there's a 300-hour requirement, there's not an official pathway program at Pacific Beach. Currently, they're really working with the Home Builders Association and Cal Poly Construction Engineering Department. They're trying to provide job skill-based programs for their students. That's just one of the examples.
And
so you might
interrupt real quick. Can you explain on they do have the charts in front of them, and I will be happy to send them to Eve and Marilyn as well. Can you just explain about the courses being A to G and the dual enrollment portion?
Sure. I think I have some of that further on, but let me tell you that, yeah, one of our goals was in making these courses career and college ready was to have each of these courses A through G approved, meaning it's accepted by the UCCI system as being a college prep elective. And some of the courses count for college prep science, a 5th year of English, and I think maybe computer science there's some for math. So all of our courses now are A through G approved. So a student who is college bound and isn't thinking career and college can actually finish a pathway without really even knowing it. We also have some courses that are dual enrolled, and that's signified with the DE on this chart. That means dual enrolled with Cuesta. We have the dual enrollment program. So you're getting, we call them kind of double dipper courses. You get a Cuesta transcript just by going to the high school class. The high school teacher articulates with the Cuesta teacher, and they talk about curriculum, and there's visits, and they certify that that course equals their course, and the student gets a transcript. Did that cover what you were thinking, Kim?
Perfect. I know you'll cover more about dual enrollment, but just as they were looking at the chart, wanted them to understand all the great things it was signifying. Thank you.
Okay. So I wanted you to know that a pathway is a course of study. It's followed by labor market need. So we don't have pathways that there are no jobs for. The state has done these requirements, so a student would have to take up to 300 classroom hours in a sequenced course that follows the CTE standards and is taught by a credentialed teacher and has an active industry advisory committee. So that's what a pathway is. And to finish a pathway makes you a pathway completer. Just to let you know, this is kind of the progress we've made in 2021. We have 15 pathways at each high school. They're not the same at each high school, although there are some crossovers. We have dual enroll classes. At each school, we have 10 teachers. At Morro Bay, there's 10.4, teaching these pathways with CTE credentials and industry experience. So they're highly qualified faculty. And I wanted to let you know it's a little different at each school to finish a pathway, to be a pathway completer. So we are being measured. That's one of the measures at the state. At San Luis High, to get over the 300-hour mark, you would take 5 trimesters minimum. So that would be 5 courses. At Morro Bay, it's 4 semesters or 2 years. Most of Morro Bay's courses are a year each. And that brings you to a total of 360 hours. So this is the requirements to be a CTE pathway completer at each school. These are some of the stats that I wanted you to look at. This is just looking at one class. We've come a long way in getting our students informed about career technical education, involved in career technical education, and being pathway completers. I have on one side San Luis Obispo High School, on one side Morro Bay High School, and these are seniors that will be graduating in June. And the first number is students who have had at least one, but not all of the required CTE courses. So sometimes students will take one course, but not finish a pathway. We're wanting them to finish a pathway, although we found that they could finish 2 pathways or finish 1 pathway and then kind of try some others, explore in other pathways. So the second number, these are students who have completed at least one pathway. So at San Luis High, there's 69 of the class that have completed one pathway that will be graduating in June. And at Morro Bay, there's 147 students who have completed one pathway. The next line is 2 pathways. So it shows that there are students who can complete 2 pathways. We're not requiring that, but that happens. I just kind of want to show you that because it can fit in students' schedules. The next line is kind of interesting. It shows at Morro Bay High, there were only 2 students in the whole graduating class that didn't have any CTE courses. So that's a giant leap for us from years past. This shows kind of a progression from 2018. We have really grown in our pathway completers. A lot of it is due to getting kind of the word out, counseling, and also we've had quite a few teachers, about 8 throughout the district, who have been teachers in our district and realize they have industry experience, have stepped up and done the work to get the credential and done the work to have an advisory committee and get a pathway started in their subject area. So that's really been beneficial. You can see that, you can see the improvements since 2018. Morro Bay High has gone up to 75% of their graduating class will have been a pathway completer, which is an amazing statistic. San Luis High is up to 20%, and I'm thinking with getting CTE into the ARI system, we'll bring those percentages even higher because students will become more aware of what it takes to finish a pathway. I'm really excited about certifications. They have been kind of one of our focuses throughout the last 2 years. These are some of the ones that, just examples. I would like to highlight that there's I don't even think it's on here, but the Biotech assistant certificate Steve Gady just ordered for his students. So his capstone students will take the Biotech assistant certification, and that lets them be able to work in a lab after they graduate. They're certified to work in a biotech lab as an assistant, but pretty great. And then I wanted to highlight the lifeguard training that's going to be happening in the public service pathway. The students are going to leave their public service capstone class, which is public safety, and go over to the pool and train to be lifeguards. Lifeguarding is a great entry-level career that leads to a lot of higher level things in public service. For instance, the Coast Guard or being a fireman. If you take some of the, you're geared towards safety, public safety, such a great intro. I wanted to highlight a little bit also the leadership is students, and we have career technical student organizations. And these are about the students getting together and being leaders and understanding what it means to be career ready and reaching out to the community. They meet monthly, but there's also competitions. You often hear of Skills USA competitions, FCCLA, FFA. This year we've added HOSA, HOSA, and that is for our biotech and patient care pathway, specifically targeted towards health sciences. I couldn't fit FFA on there because there's so many things, so it's on the second slide here. These are just some of the highlights from, they have a regional contest, a state contest, and then often go to nationals. I think they're kind of all at the state level right now. I think this is my last slide. I wanted you to know that we're kind of reinventing the district advisory committee. We had been just holding one a year, but it seemed kind of overwhelming to do everything at one time. So we have a smaller group that is informed every week. I send them an email about what's happening. Then they meet every 2 months. There's work to be done on the grants, and just so that they're informed when there is work to be done of what's happening. And then we meet once a year as a larger group. And this year our topic is time travel to the future of work. And that's going to be on April 20th. So we're asking businesses to come and talk about what they would take from this COVID experience in their business and what they would take to the future. And then we're asking teachers to come and listen to this and tell the businesses what they heard and how they could use that information. So that's all I have for now. And I want to thank you for listening to my district CTE update.
Thank you very much, Liz. Are there any board members who have questions? Mrs. Dobler-Drew.
Hello. Well, thank you, Liz. We've had other conversations too, and I'm just, very excited about what you and the rest of the CTE group are doing. I have a question about, can we make any inference from the data that more Morro Bay High School students are completing? Could that show that the culture at that high school is more receptive or more into this new form of career and college education? That's my first question. Do you think that the culture?
I think, honestly, I think this at Morro Bay, all the philosophy is year-long classes. So a student only signs up for 2 classes and they're a completer. At San Luis High, the trimester student would have to sign up for 5 different classes in a row. I think that's harder to do. I think with Aries, it will help that so students could clearly see what the next thing is. I think there's the same number of teachers. I see the same level of passion. I see really good programs at both schools. So that's what I kind of see.
Right. And as I've talked to you before about the idea of raising the value in people's minds of career and college, rather than thinking that if you're an A+ student, naturally you're just going to go on to a 4-year college and just do research and papers and so forth. But this way, they really get to have that real life work experience, like you said. They're assured of having a job, whereas the other path is not so sure anymore. But I wanted to ask specifically about the terms of capstone and what creed is. Could you say something about those 2 things?
Yes, I didn't explain capstone. So in the state, the courses are listed introductory, concentrator, and capstone. So capstone would be the final class you take in your pathway. It often comes with an internship and you're doing more advanced coursework.
Sounds great. And creed?
And you said creed, that's a term in FFA for, I think, public speaking. They stand up and they speak their creed. It's a name of a contest.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions from board members? Mrs. Roger.
Thank you. I think it turned dark in this room while I was listening to the presentation. It's really exciting what we've done in CTE, and that was a focus that the board established, that we wanted to develop a robust CTE program at both high schools, and it appears that that's been accomplished. So I'm really grateful for your work, Liz. I really am. But I do have a couple of questions. One, if I recall correctly in reading through the materials, reference was made to dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. Can you explain the difference between those two? I think it had to do with articulating with Questa.
I think some of the terms, although we used to call it articulating with Questa. Now the term is dual enrollment, meaning the two instructors are working together, and then concurrent enrollment, meaning you're enrolled at the same time. I'm not sure I could speak to that. I know that there's a student can take a course outside of the school day, kind of as an extra class. But the dual enrollment is during the school day with the high school instructor.
And qualifying for Questa credits.
Yes, yes.
I don't know where I read it, but it had to have been in this presentation somewhere because it wasn't in the book that's by my bedside, I don't think. And then I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about, as I looked at the various groups, the composition of the groups like FFA and others seem to be a lot of young women participating. And I'm wondering if our participation overall leans towards young women, in your opinion?
That's a great question, something I'd have to kind of research a little bit. I know Jeff Lemkuhl has a lot of students that participate. We have a new auto teacher, Mishak Burton, who will be adding, not that all the auto, that's not that all the auto students should be men. Great question. I don't know. Maybe we need to encourage that. That's
and it just jumped out at me, and I wondered if you had noticed it and had any thoughts about it. We didn't see this kind of real growth in CTE until we said we wanted to do it, and we gave you the TOSA-ship so that it could be done. And so I just want you to know I'm so appreciative of all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sheffer, did you have a question or comment?
I do, thank you. Yeah, I think this is wonderful and it's really great. I love our big charts. Thank you. But to see all the courses, and I just wanted to clarify that I know you're encouraging that students complete pathways and all that, but which is wonderful. But also many of these classes, they're available to any student. So so students who feel perhaps very dedicated to leaving high school and going either through Questa or directly to a four-year college or university, this provides an opportunity for them to dip their toes in some waters that they might not otherwise choose to experience. And it could lead to other opportunities, or it could lead to, just broaden their own academic experience. So I just wanted to clarify that signing up for, ag biology doesn't mean that you have to then take chem and agri-science and ag systems and management. That students can just choose to take one because it's an area that they'd like to have as an elective.
Right. One of the reasons I showed some numbers is that there is room in a student's schedule to complete a pathway and to also take a few kind of as you say, try some other interests. We are every single CTE course has the same anchor standards for working. So no matter which class you take, you're getting the same standards about responsibility, team building, problem solving, but just kind of geared towards that specific subject. So then you're also getting the academic part of it, or the academic and industry-based skill. We are encouraging the relationship to do one sequenced pathway because you're building skills. You're becoming proficient. We want you to be able to walk out of high school with some skills to actually work. Is it nailed down that you're like, no, you can't take that next class? No, there is freedom for the student to take the classes they want. But we are trying to encourage them to find one pathway that works for them. And on the other hand, We always tell the story about vet science. You know, you think you want to take care of dogs and cats, but you take veterinary science and you find out you don't like blood or something, you know. So it is a great place to find out what you like, what you don't like, but also to learn the next step. What's the journey? I am good at this. I can work at this. What's the next training I need? Whether it be an apprenticeship program, Cuesta College, you know, 4-year university, go out and work for a company that will pay you to continue to train. That's kind of where we're looking for it to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Buckman.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, how you doing? We talked a little bit this week, or we emailed a little bit this week about the advisory meeting coming up. And I'm wondering if you want to just take advantage, or if you would like me to. I don't know who's listening to this meeting, but you had indicated some need that you might have for your advisory meeting. You want to take advantage of this to reach out to folks?
Sure, whoever's listening. We do want to solicit public-minded business people in our community that have an interest in schools. We want to partner with business and education. We do have a large body of industry members, but that changes all the time. People moving up, retiring. It seems as though with different teachers, there's relationships with business people, but we want to encourage that. If there's someone who feels that this is something they'd be interested in, please contact me. I'll invite you to the advisory committee. There's so many opportunities, from guest speaking to industry tours, to mentoring a class, to offering an internship. There's so much to reading our curriculum, so much that you could be involved with in your community, the business community and the education community. So thank you.
And it's funny because I'm thinking we've really been doing heavy recruitment this evening. We've tried to recruit for pod leaders, and now we're recruiting for our CTE advisory committee, which is just great. Mrs. Frame.
Ms. Moore, I really appreciate this presentation. You've got me all excited about this. So, and I appreciate Mrs. Sheffer's comment about, you know, some of this our students really are needing to explore and dip their toes in. And like you said, they try something and it's like, oh, I thought I wanted this, but I didn't. So I'm going to explore something else. So I think that opportunity to really explore. I have two questions. And one is, you know, when I look at these charts, which thank you for blowing them up and making them really big for my old eyes, but I'm wondering, are we looking to increase opportunities for dual enrollment at Morro Bay High School? I see, you know, a lot, and I don't know anything about how we accomplish this, or how does that work? Tell me
That's
more.
that's a big yes. Across the district, we're looking to increase dual enrollment opportunities. It's Cuesta, it's not really Cuesta, actually. The state has what they call minimum qualifications in each department. So if, for instance, if there's a master's required in biology and our teacher doesn't have a master's, that just takes them out of the conversation. So in some of the CTE, as a CTE teacher, some of the minimum qualifications are work experience, which they might have. We have, Ali Dexter and I have talked with Kim, and we've called through everybody's degrees and what their experience is, and we put it all on the table, and we usually start talks in January. So Cuesta has all our requests, and we're hoping to add a few more this year. And we'll probably let you know in the summer which we were successful with.
Well, I appreciate the hard work. The other thing I was wondering is, have you been able to determine how this year, the COVID year, has been impacted our CT pathways? Has it been more difficult for students, or?
I think when last year when it hit, they were already signed up in the courses, and then they were already signed up in the courses they were in, and they had already signed up for their next year's courses. So they didn't really make any choices with COVID in mind. But that said, I know they would have, everyone would have rather been in the classroom using the equipment and doing the hands-on learning for sure. And I think everybody's kind of done the best they could with it.
Oh, yeah, no, I meant more what, was it difficult to recruit students? But what you're telling me is that students had already made that decision. And so, lastly is, one of the things that you hit upon, and I just it racked my brain about how, the CT offerings, one of the things I think you said is that we can't offer something that's not currently in the industry. I may have misunderstood you. So how do we prepare for that future that we don't even know about within the CTE pathways?
I mean, that's the reason we have the advisory committees. That's the reason we're constantly reaching out. We ask that they're the ones who say, you shouldn't be teaching this, you should be teaching that. For instance, when I was hired, we still had a dark room. I had come from industry and they were saying, why are you doing a dark room? There'll be no jobs in that in 2 years. So we went digital. So that is the very important reason to have the updated labor market industry advisory council. That's what they tell us.
Thank you so much for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, I think what I'm going to do is go to the public. A reminder, if you do wish to address the board on this item, please use the raise your hand icon on your Zoom screen. Is there anybody that wishes to address the board on this item? Okay, seeing no one, let's move on. Actually, it's 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. We've been at this for about 2 hours. I'm going to take a 10-minute break right now, and then we'll move on to item 9.03, approval of secondary school schedules for 2021, 2022. So we'll take a 10-minute break. We will resume at 5 after 8 o'clock according to the clock here. Thank you very much. Turn on the mic. Welcome back, everyone. We are now on item number 9.03, which is approval of secondary school schedules for 2021-2022 school year. This will be presented by Mrs. Newland. Mrs. Newland.
Hey, good to see everybody here tonight. So this, as you may know, our contract with our teachers union says that the teachers will vote on their schedule for the secondary schedules. And so this item reflects that. And so here are the secondary schedules that have been voted on for next year from Los Osos, Morro Bay, San Luis High, and Laguna. And so they have voted on a variety of schedules, and it is presented here tonight for your approval. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any board members who have questions? Mr. Buckman?
Thanks. Hi, Kristen. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Hey, just a quick question. I noticed there was some terminology in here. The term was modified block schedule. Can you help me understand what a modified block schedule is? Maybe what's a block schedule and then a modified?
Well, typically a block schedule will mean that more than a 45-minute period. So blocks will be anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it allows students to have more time to get more focused in on a subject area. So rather than a traditional period that tends to be less than an hour.
And are they common in California, like a real block schedule?
Yeah, I think high schools have a variety of block schedules, which are longer periods. I mean, the advantage of longer periods is you can get really involved in things. They're particularly good with like lab sciences and things like that, where you can actually have extended periods of time. And yes, that is a common thing among high school scheduling.
Okay, great. And just the other one was at Los Osos Middle School. There was a term, maybe multiple subjects may be cored in adjacent. I can't see my.
In adjacent periods. So
yeah, thanks.
So yeah, no problem. So in especially a small middle school, coring subjects means that you would combine language arts and social studies together so that you're teaching them both with a kind of a more thematic approach. It works really well when you have a small middle school like that, where teachers have credentials in both areas. And so you're learning English language arts and social studies at the same time through an extended period, if that makes sense.
Yep, thanks very much.
Mrs. Frame?
Ms. Nolan, thank you so much. My question is really actually comes from conversations that I've had with a couple of parents, and the only thing I want to know is looking at all these different schedules, is there some kind of educational rationale for each schedule, or what would be the educational rationale for each schedule? Or
I'm not sure about the educational rationale necessarily. This is a contractual thing that we have in our contract. Says that each secondary school can vote on their own schedule. And so as a result, you have different schedules among our secondary schools. And so it's really, probably a byproduct of our schools being very independent at one point in time. I think like a decade ago when I joined the district, each school was very independent, and we've made a conscious effort of bringing in kind of our core values and principles into the district office, disseminated those throughout our district. But this is probably an outlier of schools being more independent, and it is something that's written into our teachers union contract.
Okay, thanks for clarification. I appreciate that.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the public. Oh, Mrs., did you have a? Okay, I'll bring it back to the public. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion and a second and a vote. I'd like to make a motion. Jennifer?
Yes, I would make a motion to approve the secondary school schedules for the 2021-2022 school year.
And I'll second.
Second by Dr. Eisendrath Rogers. Okay, Mrs. Sheffer?
Yes.
Oops, I'm sorry. Is there any further discussion? Sheffer was yes.
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers? Mr. Buckman? Mrs. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Ms. Frame?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Mrs. Roger has left the meeting. She, I believe, was ill and no longer be participating in the meeting. Okay, motion carries 6-0 with one absence. Move on to item number 9.04, certification to the Board of Education, temporary athletic coaches for the 2020-2021 school year. This is also Mrs. Newland.
Yeah, thank you. So each athletic season, we bring forward the certification of our coaches to you. This means that they have been through all the trainings that are required under the law for athletic coaches. And so each one of the schools has certified that they have trained all their coaches. And there's a lot to it. I just want you to know. It involves, care and prevention of athletic injuries, that they understand coaching techniques, that they know the rules and regulations in athletic activity, that they understand child and adolescent psychology. I mean, there is just a lot to it, and I won't go into all the details, but there's a lot of training that goes on with our coaches. And so this item is certifying that all of the coaches for this spring season have been trained in the items required under the law.
Questions from board members? Seeing none, I'll take it to the public. Or anybody from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers, and second by Mrs. Frame.
I'd like to move approval of item number 9.04.
Okay, so we have a motion by Dr. Eisendrath Rogers and a second by Mrs. Frame. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a vote. Mrs. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Ms. Frame?
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffer?
Yes.
Buckman? And I'm a yes. Move on to item 9.05, approval of new position, nutrition coordinator, food service. Ms. Newland, you're back here.
I know, I'm here a lot tonight. You guys are gonna get sick of me. But this next position, so we had a retirement of the central kitchen supervisor. And so we took that opportunity to really look at the needs of the department with Erin Primer, our director of food services. And so really there's been a lot of changes over the past years in the area of food service. And they are really focused on farm to table, fresh local food, nutrition, and just quality food delivery. And so they really have a new focus in their department. And so the recommendation tonight is not to refill the central kitchen supervisor position, but instead to approve a nutrition coordinator that will go to the Personnel Commission in the next meeting. It was approved originally in October, but we wanted to really make sure that that job was exactly what we needed. And so we'll be finalizing the job description and the salary allocation in the April meeting of the Personnel Commission. So it's a new position. It's providing administrative support to the director, but it also is for training of culinary skills, food safety, and really brings up the meal program for the district. And the central kitchen supervisor position was a 10-month position, and this is recommended to go for 12 months because there is a lot of program offerings during the summer. So this is a 12-month position. So the former central kitchen coordinator position would have been 75,000. This position will be 121,000. So it is an increase in that is being funded by the food services department. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Bruckman?
Yeah, thanks. Hello again. Hi, Kristen. So I have two questions. One, in reading this, there was some mention of budget and some sort of help with the budget. I was wondering, this sounds like a position that actually would be fairly heavily involved in creating the food services budget. Is that part of what the concept might be?
Yeah, this position is meant to be kind of like an assistant to Aaron Primer as far as an assistant director, I would say. Somebody, though, also that has a lot of experience in nutrition. So we looked at a lot of positions around the state to create this job description. And yes, they would be doing budgeting.
Okay, so all right. And then the other thing, I guess the other question is, I know in some school districts, food services needs to be subsidized by the district budget. I'm just wondering how, if you or Ryan can tell me how our food services budget is at this point.
Well, Ryan can tell you more, but I do know that Aaron Primer has done very well and has money to fund this. But Ryan, go ahead.
And Aaron's actually in a board meeting, so you can have Aaron pop on too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I think, we're looking, Aaron's looking into the future, 2 comprehensive high schools, new kitchens.
It's hard to hear you, Ryan.
So 2 comprehensive kitchens, that are going to be new to the district, working themselves building. I think Aaron sees a lot, there's a need for just more support from not just the functionality of the department, but also just what they do on a daily basis. So I think that's where this kind of extra, quick shots, efficient expert person kind of tied in. We've had a couple of years where it was a little rocky. Aaron, of course, with all the things she's done, has kind of built it back to where it's, they're back kind of at a level spot. Of course, over the past year with everyone receiving free meals, they've done a wonderful job of really increasing the budget for food service. So although that, that's different, right? There's a lot of federal funds, all kids get free meals this year. So I would assume that by the fall, that's going to go back to our normal, food service, getting kids to sign up for free and reduced lunch, getting kids to take meals. So, but let's have Aaron kind of share a little bit about food service budget and kind of the purpose of this position.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Great. It's so nice to see you all and hear all the fantastic news and happenings of the district. We are just as excited about moving forward in food service. To answer your question, Mr. Buckman, we hit black last year with our budget, and we are on track to do the same thing again this year. It has been a combination, like Mr. Pinkerton mentioned, between universal free meals, which have been extended through September 30th. We're very excited to see California put legislation out there for California universal free meals. And we're really encouraging our legislators to enact that bill so that we can continue the success that we've seen with really helping families access food during the global pandemic. And we've also really maximized our USDA foods and our entitlement dollars. We get about $100,000 each year to spend on a variety of different items, including fresh produce. And because we really like to maximize these programs, we actually spend about $200,000 to $300,000 in those entitlement dollars because we like to keep spending money that the government will give to us. So that's been a great leverage of how we've been able to hit black for 2 years now, or we anticipate this year will be the same, combined with the additional revenue. this position is really helping us get to that next stage in our food service plan. It's not only the support for me in the department, but really in the nutrition and culinary focused piece. I think this will really help us increase our meal participation so that we can maintain this type of revenue in the future.
Thank you.
Other questions, Mrs. Sheffer?
I'll take any opportunity to sing the praises of Aaron Primer in our food services department. I mean, we have done such amazing things over the last few years, and I talk to other districts or friends with kids in other districts in other parts of the state, and they are amazed at what we do, and it's thanks to you. So I just wanted to thank you for continuing to look forward and think of ways to improve and think of ways to do even more and better, and your devotion to local, to working with our local food purveyors and working with Pacific Beach and just providing opportunities for our students and for our kids to be healthy and well-fed. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I have to at least say it's not done by myself. Thank you to our incredible team that we have, and really to this incredible district for supporting this work. It's with you that we're able to soar so high.
Other comments from board members? I think what Mr. Buckman, I believe what they have is an enterprise fund. Is that correct? Isn't that the terminology for it? And it's supposed to be self-sustaining, and clearly it is. I think we should also acknowledge that our food service folks have served, I believe, over 300,000 meals within the past year. Is that not correct? 1 million meals?
Yep.
1 million meals. So we're feeding, hungry children, hungry families, really, I think in many ways giving back to our community. So thank you to everybody there. Ms. Dobler-Drew.
I was just amazed and bowled over when I read that this free, is this correct? I mean, it's unbelievable. The free food was offered to every student in the district. Is that right?
And beyond. Any
And
child
beyond.
0 to 18 could get free meals with us for the past year during this global pandemic.
Well, that's just beyond generous, and I'm sure kept you extremely busy. I know I was reading about, how just getting it packaged up and then put in the cars, all of that is physical work that you have to do. So beyond the culinary. So I'm for you.
Thank you. And I just think I should also mention that the salary that Ms. Newland talked about was including benefits as well as salary.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Is there anyone from the public? This is an action item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Being no one, I'll bring it back to the board. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this? Mrs. Frame?
Yep.
Second by Mr. Buckman.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve new position, nutrition coordinator, food service.
Okay. Is there any further board discussion? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a vote. Ms. Frame?
Yes.
Mr. Buckman? Ms. Sheffer? Ms. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers? And I'm a yes. Motion carries 6-0. Let's move on to item number 9.06, approval of new position, secondary director of learning and achievement. And this will also be presented by Ms.
I'm
Newland.
here again. Yes. So we have a retirement of Sally Ames, the coordinator of adult education. As you know, Sally's been a valuable member of our community, our school community, for quite some time, and she is retiring. And so the district is taking an opportunity to look at restructuring adult ed and our instructional services department. As you know, Kim McGrath served last as a secondary director of ed services and also incorporated informational technology at the same time. But Rick Mayfield has done a phenomenal job of being the head of instructional services. It's a huge job. And so with Sally retiring, we kind of looked at those jobs and are proposing a restructuring of the positions. So we wouldn't refill Sally's job as it exists. We instead would take the position and move the early childhood programs that are operated under adult ed, and not all of them, but we would be looking definitely at TK and preschool and TK for sure, and going under the direction of Rick Mayfield because those are district funded programs. And then we're still discussing the parent participation programs. And then the adult programs that are operated by adult ed would go under the secondary, this new position of a secondary administrator or coordinator. I need to let you know that the cost of this position so the position would not be refilled. So that would be a savings of about 180,000. And really that's like 141,000 in salary and 38 in benefits. But the cost of the new secondary director would be between 182 and 214, including benefits. So basically that's the plan, is to reorganize that to go under two directors, an elementary director and a secondary director. So I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, there. So I'm going to just ask a quick question. So the item itself said that right now the adult education is about 141,000 plus 38,000 in benefits. So we're really talking about 180,000. And the cost of the secondary director would be just a slight bit more, potentially between 182 and about 214,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really depends on where
okay.
the person would start.
Where they
on
would start
salary
on the salary schedule.
Right.
Okay, great.
And typically you would find somebody in this position that would start higher on the salary schedule just based on their experience.
Okay, okay. Questions from the board? I'm not seeing anyone. I'm sorry, Mr. Buckman or Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers, I'm sorry.
I would just like to comment on how important this adult education program is to the community and to our students and families and adults who want to complete their education. And Sally Ames has done that, that brought such an honor to that position. And I just want to thank her personally as well.
Thank you. I'd like to bring this to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the board. Would someone like to make a motion?
Jen.
Okay, Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers. Somebody, well, for me, somebody like to make a set, would somebody like to second? Mr. Buckman? Okay, so we have a motion by Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers, second by Mr. Buckman. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Dr. Eisendrath-Rogers?
Aye.
Mr. Buckman?
Yes.
Ms. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Ms. Frame?
Yes.
Doctor, did I get you, Catherine? All right. Mrs. Sheffer? And I'm a yes, so the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item number 9.07. Award for E-rate contract for district network electronics. This will be presented by Mr. Pinkerton.
Yeah, so we recently bid out some work for our E-rate project, and the two bids went from basically 31,317 from AMS to Geocom, which was closer to 40,000. So we're asking the board to approve the low bidder in this case. And so just so you know, UPS, I had to talk to Jeremy about what that was. And so that, just so the board knows, that it's an uninterruptible power supply. So, you know, the more we rely on computers and our phone systems to work right, that are now Wi-Fi capability, it's super important that we have battery backups for those, you know, in case of an emergency. So in this case, these new batteries, this new power supply, as well as the new wireless access points, will just enhance our capabilities in those areas.
Beckman, do you have a question?
Yes, please. Thanks, Ryan. So this is all obviously becoming more and more critical as we shift to the, as you explained, and for our emergency response. I'm just wondering, this is a one-time contract, 1 year just to finish this work. Is there any benefit, or have we thought about, or is any benefit to having this as an ongoing contract like we have with our copy machines?
I mean, it's not this. These items are one-time things, but I mean, this will be an annual thing that we bring forward through our E-rate funding, and in terms of looking at these types of either UPS or battery supplies. So we have them throughout the district. So I don't know that. I mean, I'll have to talk to Jeremy about whether there's a purpose, whether there be a purpose to do that, to have an actual contract to ongo like we have with our AED machines or those types of things. But in this case, I think for the most part, it's just kind of working, some of the one-offs, each year in terms of what needs to be updated, what needs to be fixed.
I was just going to say that Jeremy's right here, maybe.
Mr. Cole, did you want to add to this? I got to figure out the technology in my phone. So the answer is this is strictly parts, not an actual labor contract. So it's a good practice to replace the batteries roughly every 3 to 4 years. And so this is the E-rate to replace those batteries. And so the general premise is that we have these devices on site so that if the power goes out, the phones still stay on, and it gives us enough opportunity so that BG&T can get out there with generators to produce generated power. So our total goal in architectural design is to make sure that we don't have any disruption of phones during long outages. So that's what the batteries do. And as a good practice, every 3 to 4 years, we need to replace the batteries, and we've hit that limit. So once again, this is AMS, and it's strictly a parts contract. So there's no labor or anything of that nature.
Other questions from the board? I'm not seeing anyone. I'll bring it back to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board on this item? I'm not seeing anyone, so I'll bring it back to the board. Would someone like to make a motion? Sheffer?
Sure. I would make a motion that we award the E-rate contract for District Network Electronics as set out in the agenda.
We have a second? Second by Mrs. Frame. So Mrs. Sheffer? Mrs. Frame?
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers? Ms. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Mr. Buckman? And I'm a yes. The motion carries 6-0 with one absence. Let's move on to item number 9.08. Measure D, award of bid number 306, San Luis Obispo High School Track and Field Modernization Program Project. Mr. Pinkerton.
Yeah, so as I alluded in my bond update to the board, we had a really good turnout for our track project bid. And so I think the fact that we went ahead with this design bid build for this particular project, the project delivery method, really worked out in our favor. And so you'll see that the low bid that was really a low bid compared to the other numbers that came forward. So roughly savings of $600,000 in terms of for the district. So I feel like this was a really good low bid by Mr. Mano. He has Mano Construction has done work for the districts in the past in many different projects. Most recently, the multi-purpose room and office modernization and expansion at Bishop's Peak Elementary School. Very pleased with that work, and so we feel really good about bringing forward this bid to the board for approval tonight for the San Luis Obispo High School track and field project. This will basically update the surface of the track to make an all-weather track. It will provide new bleachers on both the visitors and home side, new track and field areas for shot put and discus. So just a whole new stadium, that I think will be, not only great for the kids in San Luis Obispo High School, but also just for the community. We know it's a very well-used, area, for everyone in San Luis Obispo, kind of like the Morro Bay High Track is now for all of the people on the coast.
Any comments from Mr. Buckman?
I just want to point out that this, the low bidder is local. Out of the 7, there were 2 other local contractors that bid, and this is the kind of thing that I would really like to see, that our local folks are involved in it and getting the bid. So
Yeah.
thanks. And if
Okay.
nobody else.
I just want to say, I believe that when I looked at some of the plaques of construction that's been done, that have been done around the district, that Mano Construction has been heavily involved, and it's always, we've had good luck with all of our contractors, and it's great to see the local guys get this too. Is there anybody from the public who would like to address the board on this item? Being no one, I'll bring it back to the board. Dr. Eisendrath Rogers.
I just want to say that this is one of the items that we first considered in our modernization project here at the high school. And I really believe that it also, got so many people behind it that could use it in so many different ways, that it really helped us pass Measure D. And so I just want to point that out, how important this particular item is. And
Like to make the
I
motion.
would like to make the motion, actually. I would like to make the motion that we pass item, sorry, I'm not, the award bid, I'm sorry, where am I seeing this here, dear? Maybe I'm not going to make this motion because I can't see the item.
I'll help you out.
Thank you.
You're making a motion on 9.08 or D, award
Okay.
of bid 306.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping that we can pass item number 9.8.
Perfect. Would like to second. Mrs. Frame? And is there any further discussion from the board? All right, I'll take it out for a vote. Mrs. Sheffer? Mr. Buckman?
Yes.
Mrs. Frame? Dr. Eisendrath Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 6-0. Let's move on to.
Mr. Really quick before you go, I would just want to give kudos again to Mr. Holcomb and Mr. Bonner, who are both on this, as well as our project managers. This was a project that I didn't know if I was going to be able to bring in front of the board, to be quite honest with you, as we went through early on in budgets and not knowing about Measure D, and we held off on the track project. But due to their efforts, due to the team's efforts, I think everybody, we're able to have this, decision tonight and get to this place. So it really huge kudos to everyone to be able to make this happen tonight. So thank you.
Thanks for bringing that in, Ryan. Very important.
And Mr. Unger, I want to just do a quick piggyback on what Mr. Pinkerton said, as well as Dr. Eisendrath Rogers. I remember vividly being in a home on San Luis Bay Drive. This was before I was invited to speak to a portion of the community about Measure D. And I remember sitting in the living room being grilled by a number of different people about this very topic. And I remember a gentleman looking me square in the eye saying, so if I vote for this, we'll get our track redone. And I looked him square in the eye and I said, yes. And so I'm very, very happy that we're able to complete our commitments and for Measure D. And I have to give praise to the board, but mostly, I would say to the team, Ryan, Ron, Holcomb, and Chris Bonin, and the whole team. They're just a remarkable group of people doing great work by our community. Thank you.
I would just say, I think it's interesting when we first started out, and I remember the excavation in the field and discovering things that we had no idea existed out there, and the worries that we had about how all that would come together and whether how much that would impact the ability of us to complete the project. So this is really great news.
Chris.
Yeah, Mr. Buck.
Yeah, and also when you sat in that living room, we were talking about the same number of lanes. And if what the board just voted on, and I don't know if you want to pick it up, but we're talking about, this is like what, huge quality level track and field. So we promised and we gave even more. So thanks, guys.
Okay, so let's move on to item number 10.07. This is a proposed revision to board policy 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process. These are all listed as second readings, is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. I was down in action consent trying to pull that together. My first mistake of the night. 9.09, proposed revisions to board policy 3320, claims and actions against the district, first reading.
There we go. Thank you.
Mrs. McGrath.
Yes, thank you. So this board policy did go through our procedures of going through directors as well as your board subcommittee. You will see that this one had not been viewed since 2003. So there were obvious legal updates that took place that you see there in red. The board subcommittee took a good look at it, also suggested some of the specifics that should be moved to the AR. This is the first reading, pretty straightforward on this one, and I would suggest it come back for a second reading.
Let's see, I'll take it to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address us on this item? Being no one, is the board's consensus that we bring this back for a second reading? Okay, it's the board's consensus that we bring item 9.09, proposed revisions to board policy 3320 back for a second reading. Item 9.10, proposed new board policy 3555, nutrition program compliance. Ms. McGrath.
Thank you. Yes, just as it was spoken about earlier, the new nutrition program compliance. So this is a new policy that also went through the same procedure. You can see suggested moves to the AR, just too specific really for a board policy. So that information was moved over to the related AR. And let me see. And as I scroll down further, you'll see just additional information there, suggested move to the AR. And I think that was it on this one. So as a new policy, I would recommend this coming back for a second reading.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Not seeing anyone. And I made a note that I think it's nice that we are looking really at our policies and choosing to place things in the ARs. And for the public's information, AR are administrative regulations, and this is how the board policies are actually implemented at the school site level and at the administrative level. And a lot of times I think what we see is board policies that become heavily restrictive with directions when they actually should be administrative regulations, which the board does not create the administrative regulations. Is there anybody from the board who, are you Dr. Eisendrath Rogers?
I was just going to propose that we bring this back for a second reading.
You have a proposal to bring it back? Is the consensus of the board that we bring this back for a second reading? Good. So we have a consensus from the board that we bring this back for a second reading. Item 9.11, proposed revisions to board policy 3600, consultants, first reading. Mrs. McGrath.
Great, thank you. You will notice the same thing, that nice explanation there, Mr. Unger, of some information being suggested by your subcommittee that would be better suited for the administrative regulation. Also a change there that all consultant contracts would not come to the board first for approval, but approved by the assistant superintendent. So those things go through Mr. Pinkerton, and then the board would of course approve consultant purchase order requisitions. So there are, quite a few consultant contracts, and I think all of those coming to you first would be quite cumbersome. You'll see additional information there to clarify non-discrimination, really just trying to make a general statement. As we know, things continue to change in that area. So naming every single one of them and trying to keep up with that just creates a lot of needs for edits, et cetera. So keeping a general statement there will make sure that that we're treating everyone fairly, and some additional legal updates at the end. Again, as a first reading, I would suggest it come back for a second reading.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Not seeing anyone. So is it the board's consensus that we bring this back for a second reading? Okay, so it's the board consensus that we bring proposed revisions to board policy 3600 consultants back for a second reading. Last but not least, and then we can get into the 10s. Proposed revision to board policy 6020 parent involvement, first reading. Grath?
Great. So the process was continued for this. Your board subcommittee did a thorough look at this. Obviously, we applaud the involvement of parents and families in their child's education and really being a connector to the school district. You will see again some information that's better suited for the AR, some legal information that needs to be contained about engagement strategies needing to be incorporated into the LCAP. So we will take care of that. And then at the end, again, just some simple adjustments there, as well as a legal requirement to add district and school level parent and family engagement policies and admins should be distributed, which we would do that within our parent notification. Again, as a first reading, I would suggest that it comes back for a second.
And let me go to the public to see if there's anyone from the public that would like to address the board. Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the board. Is it the board's consensus that we bring this back for a second? Yes. So we will bring this back 9.12, proposed revisions to board policy 6020. Parent involvement will come back for a second reading. Let's move on to our action consent agenda. Please let me know if you'd like me to pull an item. 10.01, acceptance of donations. 10.02, approval of foreign exchange organizations. 10.03, approval of certificated, and 10.03. 10.04, approval of furniture and equipment requests. 10. Hold on just a second. Yeah, that was 10.04. 10.05, approval of purchase orders and CalCard purchases. 10.06, proposed revisions to board policy 1340, access to district records, second reading. 10.07, proposed revisions to board policy 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process, second reading. 10.08, proposed revisions to board policy 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment, second reading. 10.09, proposed revisions to board policy 6143, courses of study, second reading. 10.10, proposed revisions to board policy 6154, homework, makeup work, second reading. And proposed revisions to board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements, second reading. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the board on the action consent agenda? Being no one, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion for items 10.01, 10.02, and 10.04 to 10.11.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Buckman. Would like to second that? Second by Mrs. Sheffer. Mr. Buckman?
Aye.
Ms. Sheffer? Ms. Frame? Ms. Dobler-Drew?
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Motion carries 6-0. I'll move to item number 10.03. Ms. Sheffer.
Thank you. You know, this is the time of year when our employees make big decisions. And I just wanted to point out a couple of these people we've spoken about earlier tonight, Sally Ames, the coordinator of adult education, is retiring. I also wish to applaud her efforts throughout the years and thank her for all she's done to grow this important program in our district that serves, it's called adult education, but we start with tiny, tiny little babies in our parent participation classes, and we have classes that go all the way up to exercise classes for senior adults. We have classes on to help students, help people attain their GEDs, citizenship classes, just a very wide variety of classes that are available to the community at large. Kristen Nguyen, who is frozen on the screen there, is going to be retiring as our Director of Human Resources. Dan Block will be stepping into that position. And both of those, Kristen, you have earned your retirement. You've really helped guide us through some tough times and been able to celebrate with some of the positive things that have gone on with our staff, with our personnel in the years. So I wanted to thank you for that. And then some names that, we have people who work behind the scenes that are really helpful. I know to some of Peggy Charlesworth has been very helpful to me as a trustee when I have questions concerning benefits or issues having to do with my role as a trustee and how it meshes in with the district where it has to do with personnel questions. Peggy Charlesworth has been a great go-to person for that. And then I'm seeing that from some of the decisions, some of the personnel decisions, classified limited term assignments having to do with our response to this past year of COVID. We're hiring several instructional aides who will serve as pod leaders to help in our efforts to help our students recover from some of the learning loss and challenges that have occurred over the past year. And we're trying to be as responsive to that as possible. And that includes hiring people in who would think that a year ago we'd be talking about pod leaders and learning loss as a result of a global pandemic. But here we are. And as always, we are doing our best to respond in as many ways as possible. So I just wanted to point out some of the things that occur in this approval of certificated and classified personnel item that we usually kind of skip over, not because we don't pay attention to it, but because oftentimes it's pro forma, more pro forma this time of year in particular, when people are letting us know about their plans. It gives us a moment to reflect on all the good work and how fortunate we've been to have the employees we have. So it's always with it's kind of a bittersweet time of year. So with that, I would move approval of item 10.03, approval of certificated and classified personnel items.
Second by Mr. Buckman. We have a motion by Mrs. Sheffer, a second by Mr. Buckman. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the board. Mrs. Sheffer, Buckman, Ms. Dobler-Drew,
Yes.
Ms. Frame,
Yes.
Dr. Eisendrath Rogers, and I'm a yes. Motion carries 6-0. Let's move on to item number 11.02, advanced agenda. Does anyone have anything for the advanced agenda? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to 12.01, reports by board members. Ms. Dobler-Drew.
Oh, I had such a nice visit at Los Osos Middle School with Ms. Sheffer, and Mr. Blum and Mr. Frost took us around, and I was greeted when I pulled up to the school by band kids with all manner of instruments out there, trumpets blasting, drums inside the rooms were percussioning, and just kids were just enjoying band. It was so good to hear the band sounds. It didn't even matter if they're on tune or off tune or anything, but it sounded like music to my ears. And so I wanted to thank them for that, and also to see the kids passing with great compliance to the rules between classes was so good to see how they are so accepting of the new normal, or hopefully just a temporary normal. So I thoroughly enjoyed the visit to Los Osos Middle School.
Thank you. Other board members, Mr. Buckman.
Yep. Thanks. I just wanted to mention that I was able to attend, thanks for Zoom for this. I was able to attend the first 5 meeting I think it was this week, actually. I think it was yesterday, end of last week. That was really interesting. They're really there, and that's where we need folks. I also wanted to mention that the San Luis Film Festival was very successful. There is a part of it on the future filmmakers, and interestingly, there are films submitted from all over the world and San Luis Coastal, and one of the San Luis Coastal films, I'm working to get that name, was recognized. I attended the CSBA Climate Change Task Force, the Tri-County Education Coalition, and the NAACP Education Committee. A lot of good work out there in the community.
Anybody else? Dr. Eisendrath Rogers.
I would just like to congratulate and acknowledge Marley Schmidt for her many years of service as a teacher in the district and also as a principal. And I know that she will be sorely missed, but be having a wonderful retirement. We wish you well, Marley.
Dang.
Well, I wanted to thank Ms. Stevens, principal at Baywood, for welcoming me to Baywood for the visit. Was able to see some great pods in action, and also some real creative hands-on kind of projects that students were doing. And then I was able to witness the tremendous effort and organization of the food services at Laguna Middle School on Friday. And I was actually able to get a load of boxes and was able to take them out to a school site. But mostly it's impressive to see the organization. It is seamless and so well run. And so kudos to the entire team that is there, and to Aaron for such a well-run and caring group of people. So thank you.
And I'm just gonna, I guess that's it. Mrs. Sheffer, did you want to add anything tonight?
I think I don't know whether this would be an advanced agenda item or a Friday focus item, but I am curious to learn more about, as we kind of piggybacking on, not to discount those who are retiring by immediately moving on to who will replace them, but thinking in terms of, as we look at as we look at new hires, what efforts we make in the areas of diversity. I know that can be challenging. San Luis Obispo and Los Osos and Morro Bay have we're not known as the most affordable part of California, but I'm curious as to how we are, what we look at, what steps we're taking. If there is interest on the board to get some information in that regard.
Sure. And that, right, it probably would have been an advanced agenda item, but let's take a look and see if the board has an interest in that. Anybody interested in looking at the district's ability to diversify its staff? Is that what you're asking?
Not just teachers, but all efforts for the staff, our employees, our personnel.
Great. Dr. Prater, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it's such an important topic, Ms. Sheffer. I really appreciate you bringing that up. We have made considerable efforts to try and expand our efforts to recruit a more diverse workforce, but we've also done a really good job of building talent from within as well. And so we need to strike a balance, but at the same time, we need to honor those that are really putting in the time here, trying to work their way up. And we have a number of very talented, hardworking teachers who have spent countless hours getting their higher degrees and pursuing leadership. Juxtapose that to this idea of windows and mirrors and trying to get our organization to look like the kids that live here and attend our classrooms. And that's such an important value of ours and the district and of mine personally. How we do that is a real trick. And we've done a number of things, and I think it would be worthwhile if I brought my team here, perhaps in April or May, and presented you with the things that we've done, things we'd like to continue doing. But just know it is a long view that we have to take when we build capacity from within as well as recruitment from outside. Moving here is a really tricky and heavy lift, but the work that we're doing as a district to look at surplus properties, to build workforce housing potentially, and to look at some creative ways we can entice outside candidates who wouldn't otherwise be able to move here, could be a fantastic opportunity. So there's so much to it, and I'd be willing and very pleased to bring that presentation to you in the next month or so.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I also want to acknowledge that we make an effort to recognize the talent within and promote, not just in terms of job promotion, but promoting that desire to achieve more and serve differently in other capacities that will serve our kids and also serve our employees in ways that their own personal and professional growth. So, but yes, that's fine. I know I don't want to make long meetings longer. So if it fits in somewhere within the next couple months, then that's fine with me if it's all right with the rest of the board.
Yeah, I think I saw that the rest of the board was interested in that. And so Dr. Prater will, I guess at your convenience, knowing that April and May and really June are going to be quite busy months. We'll be talking about our LCAP, our learning recovery plan, things like that. So I think though Mrs. Sheffer is right, this is a great time for us to be doing. Buckman, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm wondering as we talk about April, May, and June, I'm wondering if this is something that we can work into the strategic planning that we're doing. So that might be another way of handling it.
Yeah, Mr. Buckman, I really appreciate that. I think it invariably will get folded into the board's vision, mission, and guiding principles. Our efforts towards equity and inclusivity, our work to really live the windows and mirrors concept is important. So it is going to be embedded into this board strategic plan or strategic sessions. However, this is a very distinctive presentation of specific things we've done and the vision looking forward. I was very impressed with Mr. Block's response to a question in his final interview, which elevated him in my mind even higher in one of his responses to that question. How will you as HR director actively recruit a more diverse workforce? And his response was phenomenal and specific, and I will include him in that presentation. Worthwhile to hear it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would just close with, I also want to thank the staff at Baywood. There's some specific teachers that I visited and got to spend some time having special education chat, which of course is something I'm always kind of interested in. So I want to particularly thank Adam Dale, Gina Taglieri, and Jesse Gady, who were kind enough to spend some time with me after school. And we, like I said, we talked special ed talk. And And then also I want to thank Diane Dubois and Susanna Alvarez in the office, you know. They're just, it's just such a, it's always great to walk into our school offices and see how really hard the office staff works. And then of course, always Lisa Stevens, the principal there, is super welcoming. And then I'm wearing a purple ribbon today. It's a reminder that April is the month of the young child. You may see people wearing purple ribbons around the community. Mine was provided by the Community Foundation of the Estero Bay, and they're going around and trying to get the good word out there. So be thinking about that. And I think that they're going to have some things that they'll be able to present to people to honor that month. If there is nothing else, I believe our next meeting is April 20th. I want to wish everyone a good spring break. And thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.